Hello guys, I hope you all are doing well. In this video we will be driving at Interlagos with the Audi R8 Evo, and on the same time as this week we are having the daily races reshuffle, if I can say that. For this daily race B we have the Group 3 cars at Interlagos, and I wanted to I wanted to do like a little lap guide around the circuit here, but I wanted to show you guys what you need to be careful of, where the braking points are, so that you can also try to extract as much as possible out of yourself. So like for this lap here, I will be driving really slowly so that I can also explain every single detail to you all. As for the braking point into turn 1, obviously it depends with each car, because each car has like different sorry guys, each car has like their own top speed, acceleration, braking ability. But with the R8, I can say that my braking point into turn 1 is just right before the 50-meter braking marker here on the right hand side, which you can see here. And usually the line you would like to take into turn 1 is not really from the outside to the inside, but you kind of want to try to come across it, like not really as aggressively as I'm doing it right here, like you will be seeing it on the lap afterwards, but usually try to be as close as you can to the apex into turn 1. Then try to cut this curb here on the left hand side as much as possible, so that you can place your car as like on the left hand side as much as you can, so that you can kind of abuse or cut the final right hander here to have the best exit out of possible, and furthermore so that you can also try to stay as close as you can to the curbs on the left hand side. And this is pretty much like the Formula 1 esports line you have to try and take. Like the more you can try to turn your car to the left hand side, that means you can also have a shorter travel distance, and it also means that you will also gain a little bit of time in the end. But obviously with each car it's a bit difficult, different I mean, because some cars tend to understeer through the corner, such as the Corvette C7, but some other cars they would also be able to take this corner without any issues. I don't want to say that the R8 is one of those cars which can take the corner without any issues, because if like when I was trying to set a lap here and also try to take these curves as aggressively as I can, then the car would also unsettle itself just a little bit, and that's why you guys have to be careful through the first through the first sector here, which is quite important. But some other cars they also tend to absorb the curb a lot better, like the curbs a lot better than some of the other cars. Some of the other weaker cars which comes into my mind is the Subaru BRZ, because with the BRZ you really have to be careful of when you have to use the curves around the circuit. But then usually the driver line would be like this, that you would come across this curb here on the right hand side. You can try to use as much as possible, but try not to use that green area here, because once you do that, then you will have dirt on your tires, which will affect your cornering for the following corner. This is the same a bit for the first right-hander in sector 1, but it's not really as bad as the one here on the right-hand side. And if you also cut that corner on the right-hand side a bit too much, like this area here, then you will also get a 1 second time penalty added, which is the same case for the right-hander in sector 1. But then we would be like, we are about to finish sector 1 here, and we would also start the first corner in sector 2, which is in my opinion one of the most difficult corners to nail. I was trying a bit too fast here, which I apologize. Usually, once again, as I mentioned, for the braking point into turn 1, with each car it's a bit different here, because some of the other cars they tend to have a higher top speed than the other cars, and if that's the case, they normally have to brake slightly earlier than those ones who don't reach the same amount of top speed as the faster cars here, right? With the R rate, in my opinion, the braking point was just right after the 100 braking mark here. But usually, if you guys wondering, okay, if you say that your braking point is like right after the 100 braking marker here, which is shown here on the right hand side, is there like anything else you focus on your braking point? And there is, which for me, this little road section here on the right hand side, you know, like where, for example, you have the grass here and then the other grass over there, but the little area right in the between, like right between those two grass areas, if I can say that, this is usually my reference if I need to start braking. And usually if my car comes like around this speed-ish, and not really the speed, but you know, like in terms of the level of reaching the road section on the right hand side, that's where I would normally start braking into the left, into the first corner of sector 2. Usually before the physics change last year, it was kind of possible to really abuse the curb on the left hand side, because normally you had to kind of try to place your car yeah, obviously this is going to sound a bit thanks Sherlock in that sense, but you had to kind of try to place your car like, you know, like for this section here, like for this area of the curb here, as perfectly as you could, so that you were able to have the perfect rotation out of the final corner. But with the recent physics change, where they were also working on the suspension model a little bit, it's not really possible to do it as much as you were able to do it previously. I mean, you are still able to do it, but with some cars it's a bit difficult to do it. And one of those difficult cars is like the Audi R8 or some of the other MR cars, which I found specifically. What you would normally like to do is like, once you approach sector 2, then normally you would also try to take a line from the outside to the inside, obviously, but try not to enter this first corner on the left hand side too early. Like, still try to be a bit patient before you turn in, so that you can also try to use as much of the outer area of the exit of that corner as you can. And normally you would also try to use that curb as much as possible for your exit, so that you can also carry as much speed as possible through the following corners. Normally, if you use that dark green area, that would mean that it would also give your tires some dirt, which would also affect your following corner into the middle section of sector 2. And if I remember correctly, like, I'm not quite sure about that one, but if your car is like all the way on that area, you know, like on the dark green and the brighter green area, and you would also try to come back to the track as soon as possible, or like as quickly as possible, then you will also get a time penalty added. So you should also try to be careful there. So then we can also try to use this line here, like try to take this line here as much as you can, so that you will also have a shorter travel distance. And now for this right-hander here, my braking point is usually just right before, it's actually like between the 50 and the 100 braking meter, or like the marking point on the left hand side. And usually what I also try to do is, because the following right-hander is like a slight fast carrying momentum speed corner, I would also try not to brake. Like, if you look at my braking if you look at my brake input carefully, I would try not to do like this, but instead I would try to smoothly brake around 50 to 60% for the following corners, so that I wouldn't put all the load to the front of my car, and therefore my car wouldn't really understeer as much as I would do with a braking of 100% into the following corner. Because the more you brake, like in terms of your braking input, the more amount of load you would also place to the front of your car, which would mean, like, if you want to turn, it would also be a bit harder to turn into the following corner. So that's why, like, the weight transfer is quite important to learn especially if you want to lap a fast amount of lap times here. So yeah, usually the braking point would be like around here, like 75 meters if I can say that. And then for the following corners, try to place your car as narrow as you can. It's going to compromise a little bit for your exit speed for the corner here, but try to do that so that you can still gain more total amount of time in the end. Usually what you should also be careful of is not to use this road section here on the left hand side, because once you do that you will also have dirt on your tires, which is going to affect your cornering for the following corners a lot as well. It's the same for this corner here. Try not to use the grass on the right hand side, but then once again try to use the curb as much as possible. For this corner here, try to sort of cut it so that you can come back strongly for the following exit here. And then usually with the braking point, it's also like just right after the curb started to show on the right hand side, like once you are almost on the same level as the curb. But then what I like to use for the exit of this corner here is the second gear, like on the previous low speed corners, which, because for me personally I had more stability while doing so. Then you can also try to use as much as possible on the road section here. You can sort of cut the corner here, but really try to be careful, because there are a few cars out there, such as the BRZ, where these cars would instantly spin if you want to abuse the curbs as much as possible. Like with the R8 here, you can sort of do it, but you still have to be careful while doing so. Then obviously with the amount of speed you're carrying through the corner, your car would be like coming across this curb here, which you can try to do. And sorry about that. And usually the braking point into the final corner is like around the 50 like braking mark, which is shown on the right hand side. But you will be able to see it right afterwards once I showcase a fast lap here. As for the exit, like try to use the curb here on the left hand side as much as possible, so that you can also carry as much as possible, as much speed as possible for the exit of the for the back straight. And then once you manage to nail the final corner, like the exit of the final corner, try to really place your car as left as you can, so that you will also reduce the amount of travel distance you have. And once you do that, that's pretty much a lap around Interlagos, and afterwards you will be able to see the like the fastest lap time I've done here, which is a 29.983 so far. But on the same time, I will also be showing the best sector times I've done with the R8 here, because if I add up the total amount of my best sector times, I think you can do like a low 0.8 or like a high 0.7, depending on how much more time you are able to find still, and on the same time if you are able to nail all the sector times together in the end. But right now, if we also leave the track on the leaderboard, sorry for that. Like currently we are P4 in the world, the only Audi driver within the top 10. So you guys can also see the replay of my best lap in the game. Like if you guys want to have like a lap guide as a ghost for your own preferences, so that you can also learn while driving on the same time. And apart from that, I think that's it from my side. I would like to thank you all for watching the little lap guide around Interlagos here, and I wish you all the best if you also want to improve your driver rating here, or on the same time try to improve your own performance as well as your pace around the circuit. But then once again, I thank you all for your support, and I would like to wish you all a nice day, and hopefully I will be able to see you guys on the next video. Until then, cheers everyone. There's no way he actually said that. Ah. Ah. Oh my god! Almost into the 29s! No! .011. Ah!